بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. To proceed, everybody can hear me okay? Sisters in the back all the way. طيب إن شاء الله. This seminar inshallah will be on Tazkiyah, and it is extremely difficult to teach Tazkiyah in a seminar like style. You know, Tazkiyah is best taught in small installments in the masjid, mu'adha every once in a while that you hear that would touch your heart, and over time this builds up and the iman increases in your heart. More hands-on, more of mu'adha that is practical, that is timely, that you act upon immediately. This is how you learn Tazkiyah. However, what we'll try to do here is we'll try to basically remind ourselves of the state in which we are, remind ourselves of the importance of seeking this path of Tazkiyah, so that we are attentive in the future. We are keen on pursuing Tazkiyah by ourselves, because this is such an individual practice, individual experience, individual pursuit that is extremely important to be done individually. However, what we will try to do here is we will touch upon the issue of Tazkiyah, so that we are cognizant of the importance of this issue. We're cognizant of our need for Tazkiyah. So at the end of the seminar, you will, inshallah, be well aware of our need for Tazkiyah. And it is also important to say at the beginning of this that we have to remind ourselves of Tazkiyah, which does not mean that the one who is reminding we have to remind. Is this okay now? We have to remind ourselves of the importance of Tazkiyah. We have to remind ourselves of those stations of ikhlas, sincerity, muraqabah, watchfulness. It does not mean that the person who is reminding had actually reached any of those stations, and then he is calling you to come, or join him in one of those stations. It just means that we're all walking towards them, and we're reminding each other of the importance of reaching, our goal of Tazkiyah, our goal of purifying our hearts, our goal of having complete devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of being watchful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His rights upon us all. The vision of this seminar will be, as you see on the screen. First, we will talk about why is it important to address this issue. Why is it important to talk about Tazkiyah and the purification of the heart and these issues. The second part will be about ibadah and excellence in ibadah and how to achieve that excellence in ibadah. And then we will talk about the types of hearts, and then we will talk about purification. So we'll talk about examples of bad qualities that we need to purge out of our hearts, that we need to cleanse our hearts from. And then we'll talk about the stations, some of the stations that we need to reach and that we need to stay in as much as we can. And lastly, we'll talk about practical points and how to begin the walk towards that final ending or destination. This ayah, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. And do not disgrace me on the day they are resurrected, the day when there will be no benefit, or there will not benefit anyone, wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart, with a heart that is sound. So basically, this is something that we will repeat frequently. You want to remind yourself all the time of the sudden change of currency that will happen at the moment of death. Sudden change of currency. All the dollars that you have in your pockets will be of no value whatsoever. All of your education will be of no value whatsoever. All of your unused knowledge, unused Islamic knowledge, will be of no value whatsoever. Your expertise, your skills, nothing will be of value. You know, think about this. All of a sudden, you're not vanishing. When you die, you're not vanishing. And that's the one thing that we really need to think about. It is a different phase of our existence. In this different phase of our existence, there will be sudden change of currency. So all that you have collected, except for al-amal as-salih, except for your good deeds, and certainly the liabilities, your bad deeds. But everything else will be suddenly invalid, will become suddenly invalid. Dollars, pounds, skills, real estate, property, all will be suddenly invalid, of no use whatsoever. I'm sorry this is a little bit crowded, but I wanted to keep the Arabic next to the English and the ayat and the hadith. That's why it's a little crowded. And the hadith is a lengthy hadith. This hadith is hadith number 4 in Arba'in al-Nawawiyya. And people actually don't pay enough attention to this hadith. Or a lot of people don't pay enough attention to this hadith. This is the hadith that is reported from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, in which he said that the Prophet ﷺ told them, إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ يُجْمَعُ خَلْقُهُ فِي بَطْنِ أُمِّهِ 40 يَوْمًا نُطْفَةً, and in some reports 40 ليلة نطفة ثم يكون علقة مثل ذلك ثم يكون مضغة مثل ذلك, and in some reports ثم يكون مضغة في ذلك مثل ذلك. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم يرسل إليه الملك فيؤمر بنفخ الروح فينفخ فيه الروح ويؤمر ب4 كلمات بكتب أجله وعمله ورزقه وشقي أو سعيد. فالذي نفسي بيده إن أحدكم لا يعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار فيدخلها، وإن أحدكم لا يعمل بعمل أهل النار حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل الجنة فيدخلها. The point that we wanted to highlight here in this hadith, and you can certainly, I will quickly read it. Verily, the creation of each one of you is brought together in his mother's belly for 40 days in the form of a seed or nutfa, a drop. Then he is a clot for a like period, then a morsel of flesh for a like period. Then there is sent to him the angel who blows the breath into him, or breath of life, or soul into him, and who is commanded about 4 matters: to write down his means of livelihood, his lifespan, his actions, and whether he will be happy or unhappy, will be of the dwellers of the paradise or hellfire. In some other reports, there are, in Muslims' reports, there are indications that all of this will happen in the first 40 days, not 40 plus 40 plus 40, but rather all of this will happen in the first 40 days. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, which is what matters here to our topic, by Allah, other than whom there is no God, verily one of you behaves like the people of paradise until there is but an arm's span or an arm's length between him and it, and that which has been written over, or that which has been written takes over or overtakes him, and so he behaves like the people of the hellfire. And the opposite, also one will behave like the people of the hellfire until the decree that was written, that was inscribed in the book, when the angel came down and inscribed those decrees in the book, will take over him. But here's what we have to ponder. Why would Allah do this to us? Why would you do the works of the people of paradise for your entire life, and then Allah decides to just misguide you if you're not deserving? Hypocrisy. Some of the scholars said hypocrisy, but can hypocrisy actually get you closer to paradise? It says here in the hadith, until there is only an arm span between him and paradise. Hypocrisy doesn't get you any closer to paradise. It is basically all of the overlooked, ignored, neglected diseases of your heart that overtook you eventually before the end of your life. The idea here is we could be fasting and praying and performing Hajj and Umrah, but at the same time you could be arrogant, you could be ostentatious, like you could be too proud, prejudiced, you could have so much greed, and you could cover this all up, in front of people, and you could look okay, look like you are of the people of paradise. And at the same time, you're not praying, you're not a full-blown hypocrite. You're praying to pray. But you're negligent of all of the condition of your heart. You're negligent of the condition of your heart. And you see a lot of people do this. Like they're very prayerful. They go to Hajj and Umrah and every year, every other year, so many times in their lives. But when you observe some of what they do, you'll find that they have major problems in their hearts. So when the Prophet ﷺ says, as Bukhari and Muslim reported from Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu at the end of a long hadith, بِحَسْبِ الْمَرْءِ مِنَ الشَّرِّ أَنْ يَحْقِرَ أَخَاهُ الْمُسْلِمِ. It is sufficient evil for someone to despise his Muslim brother. It is sufficient evil. It is enough evil for someone to despise his Muslim brother. So what does it mean sufficient? What does it mean بِحَسْبِ امْرِئٍ مِنَ الشَّرِّ أَنْ يَحْقِرَ أَخَاهُ الْمُسْلِمِ? It's enough for him. What does it mean? It's enough to destroy him. It is enough to ruin him. It is enough to ruin him. That's what it is enough for. It is enough to ruin him. So, in this case, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like to torment us. Allah said, مَا يَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابِكُمْ إِن شَكَرْتُمْ وَآمَنْتُمْ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ شَاكِرًا عَلِيمًا. Surah An-Nisa, مَا يَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابِكُمْ إِن شَكَرْتُمْ وَآمَنْتُمْ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ شَاكِرًا عَلِيمًا. What would Allah do tormenting you if you are grateful and faithful? And Allah is most grateful, all-knowing. But it's quite interesting. Keep like a close eye on the endings of these ayat. On the endings of these ayat. مَا يَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابِكُمْ إِن شَكَرْتُمْ وَآمَنْتُمْ. Why would Allah torment you if you are grateful, شَكَرْتُمْ, if you show gratitude, and you're faithful, have belief, وَآمَنْتُمْ. The end of this ayah says, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ شَاكِرًا عَلِيمًا, and Allah is most grateful, all-knowing. So He's most grateful, like if you're truly like observant of Allah's rights, exterior, on your exterior, in your exterior and interior, you're observant of all of Allah's rights and you're dutiful and you're not negligent, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most grateful. Allah will not misguide you at the end of your life so that you could go to the hellfire. Allah does not want you to go to the hellfire. But it also, the ayah also ends with Alima. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ شَاكِرًا عَلِيمًا. And Allah is most grateful, all-knowing. All-knowing, this is to alert us to the fact that Allah knows your interior as much as He knows your exterior, because nothing hides anything from Him. The exterior does not hide the interior from Him. The interior does not hide the exterior from Him. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. So He is the most subtle in al-batin, meaning that nothing is hidden from Him. Nothing. No matter how deep in the crevices of your brain or your heart that thought is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well aware of it. So this should be concerning to us. This hadith should be concerning to us, or shouldn't it? Because we hope that we are so far of the people of like the people who do the works of Jannah, or those deserving of Jannah. We pray, we fast. Our sisters are wearing their hijab. Everybody is doing the works of the people of Al-Jannah so far. But this hadith tells us that there are no guarantees, that you should always stay vigilant, that you should always continue to be concerned. And that is why it is extremely important for all of us, it is extremely important for all of us to maintain that vigilance and to maintain that concern. Once we lose it, then we are in great danger. Once we lose that vigilance and that concern, then we are in great danger. And you do see many people lose it. You do see many people completely careless of the difficulty of the test. This test is not an easy test. إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم. Allah bought from the believers, or purchased from the believers, their souls and their property, بأن لهم الجنة, for Jannah. And a lot of us think that it is basically you go about your life and then just don't forget to pray 5 times a day, and without paying any attention to your character, to your conduct, to your heart, and that is when we get in trouble. It is important that we learn about Tazkiyah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. He has succeeded who purifies it, who purifies his soul, and he has failed who instills it with corruption, corrupts it. So he has succeeded who purifies it, and he has failed who corrupts it. But this hadith, this ayah is not just to tell us that you're successful if you purify your nafs. But this ayah tells you what also? That you can purify your nafs. You can purify your nafs. And that is why it is important for us to start the work, because it's doable. Because all of the qualities that we have neglected, all of the bad qualities in our hearts that we have neglected, that we have not taken care of, could actually be removed. If you think that you have no problem in your heart, then you have a big problem, a huge problem. If you know that you have problems, if you know that you have issues, you must also know that you could work on them, that you could take care of them. That Allah told you, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. He had certainly succeeded who purifies it. Then you can purify it. لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. Allah does not burden any soul beyond its capacity. And you have been asked to do this. You have been asked to purify your soul. In fact, that is the ultimate measure of your success. The ultimate measure of your success or failure, whether you purified it or you did not purify it. It is important, however, that you do not fall in despair, that you understand that while you are aware of our human ability, our ability as human beings to purify our souls. You should also be aware of our need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get our souls purified. You should be always showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humility and humbleness. And you should always tell Him, without you I cannot do it. I can't do it on my own. Because even though it is possible, it is rather difficult. It is unlike growing your beard, because that takes a couple of days. In fact, it doesn't take a couple of days. You're considered bearded, or you're not liable once you decide to leave it. So that's it. It's just a very simple decision. You say to yourself, well, I'm not going to shave my beard tomorrow, and then you're fine. But if you like to show off, that could be a lifetime struggle. If you like to be praised by people, that could be your struggle until the end of your life. It is not as easy as committing to praying 5 times a day. It is not as easy, because you could commit to praying 5 times a day, and it can become a second nature for you. You just force yourself to for those people who don't. You force yourself, and then you find yourself, going to prayer with even as a second nature. Like it is time for prayer, it doesn't even cross your mind to not pray. It does not become an issue. But is it like this for some of these qualities, some of these internal qualities of the heart? No, it's an ongoing struggle. So, being an ongoing struggle and being rather difficult, you will have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. So while you should be fully aware that it is within your capacity, you should be also fully aware that this is dependent on, contingent upon Allah's guidance and Allah's tawfiq and Allah's support and Allah's help. And without you seeking Him out, without you seeking, His help, and saying to Him, وَأَسْأَلُكَ قَلْبًا سَلِيمًا, as the Prophet ﷺ used to say, and I ask you for a sound heart, you will never have it. Without saying, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنتَ الْوَهَّابُ. Oh Allah, do not, make our hearts deviate after you have guided us and bestow mercy on us. So it is important that you realize that you can do it, so that you should start. But realize that you need Allah's help, so that you don't feel that you could do it on your own, and you should always be broken in front of Allah, munkasir. You should always show humility and humbleness. And people who don't show humility and humbleness are the most deserving of misguidance. Most deserving of misguidance. Also, we need to do this because without the purification of the heart, you're not only losing the hereafter, you're losing this dunya as well. You see what Abdullah ibn Mubarak said? He said the worldly people leave this world before having feasted on the sweetest thing in it. They asked him, what is that? And he answered, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, no matter what type of ideology you have, what type of spirituality or you practice, that inner peace, that contentment, that sweetness of faith that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, sweetness of faith that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, you will not have it unless you have walked on this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with devotion, sincerity, commitment, and you have left behind your back all of the other distractions. So that is when you will truly feel stability, strength, the inner strength. You will be psychologically resilient, which means that the affairs of this dunya, situations, circumstances, ups and downs, failures, betrayals, all of these things will not break you, because you have your Jannah inside your heart, and that's it. You're fully contented with this relationship between you and Allah, with the walk on this path, with this journey that you embark on, and everything that happens will not break you, and that is the ultimate happiness and success in this life. That we should all work for. We should all work for. Do you find the sweetness of faith? The real sweetness of faith that makes you so happy to the point where you say, like some of our righteous predecessors, if the people of Jannah feel this way, they have a good life. They have experienced this sweetness of faith to the point where they are so happy and so much joy that they would say to themselves, if the people of the Jannah have this experience, they have a good life. So if we don't have it yet, then it means that there is work ahead of us, because you want to work for this. You want to taste it before you leave this dunya, because otherwise you will have missed the most beautiful thing in this dunya. And forgive me if the picture may sound not very tactful, because the light here means, like a reference to al-barzakh, to the next phase of your existence. Keep this in mind.
What does it say, Sahih International?
It is the translation. Translation is called Sahih International. It's actually Muhsin Khan and Taqiyuddin Hilali, but with some modification. Right, Muhammad? The next point here is, why is it important? Why is it important that we pay attention to this matter? It is important that we pay attention to this matter because, like I said, you are on your own. You're really on your own here. You see, when we go to Salat al-Eid, you stop by someone and you pick them up, and you go to Jum'ah, you could also stop by someone. When you go to the masjid, you see some of your friends, and you're going to the masjid, and you have in mind that you'll see so and so, and you will stop by the drugstore next to the masjid or something and pick something up. You have company. You're fasting Ramadan together. You're doing Hajj together with people. You have a group. You have this. You have company. You have all the time. You're having company. Even in some of your ibadat, in some of your greatest ibadat, you're having company. But when it comes to this matter, which is purifying your heart, you're really on your own. And you're just doing it by yourself. This is an individual effort. Yes, it is helpful when you have people to remind you. But those people can never help you out on actually doing it, on actually purifying your heart, purging it out of all of the ailments, sicknesses. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayah, in Surah Al-An'am, وَلَقَدْ جِئْتُمُونَا فُرَادًا كَمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَتَرَكْتُمْ مَا خَوَّلْنَاكُمْ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِكُمْ وَمَا نَرَى مَعَكُمْ شُفَعَاءَكُمُ الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُمْ أَنَّهُمْ فِيكُمْ شُرَكَاءُ لَقَدْ تَقَطَّعَ بَيْنَكُمْ وَضَلَّ عَنْكُمْ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَزْعُمُونَ. وَلَقَدْ جِئْتُمُونَا فُرَادًا, and you have certainly come to us alone. كَمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ, as we created you the first time. وَتَرَكْتُمْ مَا خَوَّلْنَاكُمْ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِكُمْ, and you have left behind what we have bestowed upon you you have left all that behind you. So as just remember this, and remember that this is going to happen. You will feel this in, sakarat al-maut, the stupor of death. That is when you start the lonely journey, the truly individual lonely journey. Because in sakarat al-maut, the people around you, will you really care when you are in sakarat al-maut about showing off? Will you really care about what the people will think or what to? That's it. Suddenly, it becomes all about you and you alone. It becomes all about your survival, your salvation. And that's the only thing. And then in Hayat al-Barzakh, and then in al-Hashr, resurrection, al-Ard, when you are, exposed before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are being asked questions by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of those phases, you are going to be alone. And so no spouse, no parent, no child, nothing will be next to you. No support from anyone from any direction, no help, and no benefit except one who returns to Allah with a heart that is sound. So you will get a lot of reminders about many other things. When it is fasting Ashura, you get a lot of text messages and a lot of emails about fasting Ashura, and people at home are fasting. Sometimes you even feel bad if you don't fast, because it's just like everybody around you is fasting. And if you're going to be the only one at home that is not fasting, it just will look awkward. So you fast. Or you may want to fast, but you have a lot of people fasting around you. So different from this. This requires people who are extremely introspective. Like if every time you do something that is suboptimal, you need to quickly remember, why have I done this? Why have I thought this way? Why have I felt this way? I must have a problem in my heart. If you walk into the masjid and you find people doing something and you look down at them because of whatever you think of them. If you drive into the parking lot in your Mercedes or BMW, if anyone here has one of those, and then you feel good about it because people will look at you and see that you are driving a nice car. And then you say to yourself, wait a second, what is happening here? What's happening to my life? How am I doing this? How did I get this low? And then you immediately start the treatment. You immediately start the treatment. And the treatment here is to humiliate yourself further before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and before His servants. But it requires you to be individually vigilant, alert all the time, and you take care of whatever happens to your heart immediately, because no one will see it. No one will see it. No one will see inside your heart. And even if people can see it to some extent, see that you're showing off or you're this or that, it will be very hard for people to tell you, because this is again an action of the heart. So you could always tell them, well, who told you? I didn't feel that way. Versus when people see you committing a sin, and they tell you, no, this is incorrect, and the proof is here, and so on. So you're not getting that help either. So you have to be watchful over yourself, your own monitor. The reason why this is important is that you will not find mentors like this. So Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said about Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, his mentor, teacher, shaykh, when we were seized with fear and our thoughts about Allah's decree turned negative and the earth grew narrow for us, we would go to him. No sooner did we look at him and hear his words, than all these feelings would leave us, to be replaced by relief, strength, certainty, and tranquility. Now tell me, where do you find those people nowadays? Very scarce, very rarely would you come across people like this, that you will go seek their support, seek their advice, and then you walk, into their presence, with these feelings of negativity, and the earth grew narrow for us, and so on, and then you would walk away with feelings of strength, certainty, relief, and tranquility. So you don't find a lot of those people around you. So our hearts are sick, and there are no doctors. And when there are doctors, the doctors are sick as well. So can you imagine this? You're in the midst of a group of people, everybody is sick, even the doctors, like a plague, befell your town, and the doctors have the disease, so how are you gonna survive? You go to the doctor, and the doctor himself is sick. And then you feel that there is very little hope. Yet, we will have, even though we're sick, we will have to help one another. We will have to remind one another. We will have to support one another towards this, goal, objective of ours, which is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet, the fact that the doctors are sick would make us even more, determined to work harder, because we can't find, the right doctors. So we need to work harder to save ourselves. The next section, inshallah, will be about the types of hearts. So we can take, some break and come back, inshallah.